What's up, y'all? I know it's been a while since I made a video. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible because for whatever reason YouTube doesn't like me uploading videos that are more longer than 12 minutes. So I'm going to try to make this brief. This video is about should you, who is watching this video, purchase silver? Whether it be Silver Eagles, which do demand a premium, or Morgan dollars, Peace dollars, Kennedy halves, junk silver, whatever you want to call it. I think you get the drift. First, let me present you with a question. You have $100 in cash or 2 Silver Eagles and various denominations in junk silver. Now, let me ask you, or I should more say constitutional silver. I don't like calling it junk silver because it's still very pretty and has high silver content. Which do you think would fare better in a safe? $100, legal U.S. currency, Federal Reserve note, paper, or silver. Which do you think? Think about it. Which do you think will be worth more when you go back and reopen that safe that has been sealed for 30 years? That has been sealed since you put it in there. Which do you think will be worth more? If you chose silver, you obviously chose correctly. And I am going to elaborate on that some. Have you ever noticed how this says Federal Reserve Note? Have you ever stopped to think what that means? Federal Reserve? Most people think that the Federal Reserve is a federal institution that is completely controlled by the federal government. Is that what you think? Or do you think that it is a private institution? Once again, if you chose private institution, you chose correctly. The Federal Reserve is not, nor has it ever been, a federal-run institution. It's a private institution that prints money for the government when it needs it, and then charges interest on that money, and then the government charges you, the taxpayer, to pay for that interest. Something they won't teach you in any public school or any history class, or any standard history class. I don't know if they get into that in economics or not because I haven't taken any economics class. I just know, because I've done research, the Federal Reserve is a private institution. It is not run by the government. If you need more proof on this and you don't want to just take my word, which I advise you don't just take my word, I advise you do your own research, look up The Creature from Jekyll Island, a book by Griffin somebody Griffin. Guy's a fucking genius. He goes into it way more in depth, but that book will piss you off. Now, other reasons to invest your money in obtaining physical silver that you can hold. A, wealth preservation. B, you will be able to potentially gain more wealth if silver in your lifetime goes up in price, sell it, and then when it goes back down in price, you can buy even more silver and the cycle repeats. Or you can have it as a retirement in case your retirement sucks or you work at a low-paying job and your retirement won't ever be much, then yes, silver by all means. If you have any extra money, I would advise you purchase silver. Because silver most likely is going to keep going up in price. Right now it is only at $15.50 as of making this video. That could change overnight. It could go all the way up to $25 by tomorrow. No one knows. About 8 months ago, it was down at $14. I wish I had purchased the $100 of silver that I purchased a couple days ago back then because I would have saved money, but that's a case for a different matter. Now, another thing that I would seriously advise you doing is making your stack if you live in the United States. Now, I have nothing against generic silver bullion. However, I would still advise you to buy U.S. authentic silver rounds. And here's why. Because let's say you had to sell this. You had to liquidate it. Like that. in an economical situation. This will always charge a premium. It might not be the same premium that you paid for it, but this will always have a premium. Most coin dealers and silver professionalists are willing to pay $1 to $2 over spot for this. You might have to pay $3 or $4 over spot for it, but in the long run, if silver goes all the way up to $100 an ounce and you only paid $15 for it or $20 for it, then you're making a lot of money regardless. Now, another thing that I will warn you about if you do choose to stack silver is if you decide to stack silver and you use generic rounds, be careful, because if you stack these, the IRS won't know about it if you decide to sell more than $1,000 worth. If you sell generic rounds, they will, because there's a certain pact, paper, clause, whatever the hell you want to call it, that as of either the 1980s, 70s, 60s, somewhere in there, they created a bill where if there's a transaction more than $1,000 in precious metal, the IRS gets some of it. They get a capital gains tax or something. I'm not sure the exact terminology for it, but they get a chunk of it, and I think it's about 20%. However, these are exempt from that because these, the U.S. Mint didn't even create when that list was created of things that are can be taxed. So it must have been before 1986 because I think that's when they started making those coins. So I have no idea if Morgan dollars are in there. I have no idea, but another reason why you might want to stack these to start out with if you live in the United States is because there's not really any emotional attachment to these. They all look the same, identical. I got some 2018 ones coming in the mail currently, and they will look identical to the 2005. Otherwise, it'll say the only difference will be 2018 instead of 2005. That's literally it. Other than that, it's the exact same coin. But with old silver, either being numismatic or just sentimental, you'll start to look at it and you'll be like, I really don't want to have to liquidate this because, it's very pretty. I've had it for a while or something. That's why I'm trying to shift away from having that being my main stack or source of silver in this. And this is pure silver. This isn't just 90%. 90% is still worth a good bit, but it's just not as pure as this. So anyway, that is all that I have to generally say today because I'm starting to run out of time. However, I will say a couple more things. If you are deciding to get a bunch of silver or your stack is starting to grow to where you're worried about robbery, I would advise you find some sort of fireproof box or safe to put it in. I personally came across at a yard sale a filing cabinet size safe that had a filing cabinet rack in it, but it's a safe, not an actual flimsy filing cabinet that is fireproof, from the 1970s for like $10. I was like, yes, please, I'll buy that. Because guess what I can put in it? I can put this in it. It's fairly large, so I won't need to buy anything bigger for probably several years. You can write in the comments if you want me to do a video on that. I will, but anyway, I rest my case. And at the end of this video, I ask you again, think. Use your head. Which do you think will be worth more in the future? Think about it. Do you think this or this? Think. Don't be lazy and let someone else like me think for you. Do your research. Do whatever else you need to do to convince yourself if this video hasn't. Make sure it is your own decision. Do research on the Federal Reserve, what have you. Do research on it all. And just think, will this be worth more or will that?